I'm now with John Cash on the Jowett Jupiter stand. Good afternoon, John, and welcome to Classic Restoration Show 2023.
Good afternoon to you.
So can you give a little bit of history on the club over the 100 years?
Yeah, the Jowett Car Club was founded in 1923. It was actually called the Southern Jowett Car Club when it was first founded. Unlike many car clubs, it survives the Second World War, and membership has remained continuous ever since. In 1974, the club changed its name, dropping the Southern from the title, because by that stage it was the only Jowett Car Club and we had membership all around the world.
So how many members would you say you had now?
In the mid 500s.
So the majority of them are in the UK, or?
The majority are in the UK, but we do have a membership worldwide, plus affiliated clubs in Australia and New Zealand.
So can we just talk a little bit about the cars on the stand today? The white one over there.
Indeed, that's a Jupiter, which is mechanically identical to a Javelin, which is the saloon version.
And what about this one? What are they doing on this one here?
Well, this is the classic barn storage car. It's a vehicle that at the age of 14, the then owner, something went wrong with it and he parked it up, since when it's not turned a wheel. We've extracted it from its long-term storage and are working on it with an aim to getting it back on the road, having removed the engine so far.
Well, this is what I've said this before. I did an interview a few years back and we discussed about what's good about the Jowett Car Club stand is there's people working on the car, and it gets people on the stand, doesn't it, looking at it?
It does indeed. We pioneered working on cars on the stand. We were at the very first show and were the first club to actually do work on the cars, real restoration work. Since then, other clubs have caught the idea, and it now, as you can see from the show, everybody's doing it. But once again, we were the first.
So what about this one here?
Another long-term storage, 1927 car. Again, if you look at the tax disc on the screen, you'll see the last year that was on the road, 1969. And once again, it's survived remarkably well. Been lucky enough to be in dry storage, which obviously helps vehicles. And hopefully by the end of the show, the engine will be running on that. But again, it's not run since 1969.
So do you have any Javelins yourself, Jowett's, I mean?
I have a Javelin and a Long 4, which is a saloon version of the car, the last car you looked at. That car, the yellow one you're looking at, is dates from 1927, mine dates from 1930, so a very similar age to the car.
So what kind of condition is your car in? Is it all been completely renovated, or?
Yes, and that is in running order. Both of my Jowetts are in running order. The Javelin gets regularly used because it's quite suitable to use in modern condition. You avoid motorways, obviously, with a car like that, but it's perfectly adequate performance to keep up with modern traffic.
And so the club is going from strength to strength, obviously, because it's still going. So.
Indeed, yeah. The whole idea behind setting up the club in the first place, a word used by the founder, a Mr. E.A. Dudley Ward, lovely hyphen double barrel name, the whole point was to promote camaraderie between owners of the cars on the road. And that camaraderie spirit exists right through, and has done and continues to exist to this day.
So do you still do a salute when you see another driver of a Jowett?
Of course. In fact, you probably pull into the nearest lay-by and then spend the next couple of hours exchanging tales.
Well, that's what it's good. That's what it should be like, isn't it?
Indeed, and to be fair, that really applies to almost any classic car. That everybody has the classic car that means something to them for some reason. But we're proud of the fact that we've been going for so long. We have members in the club who joined in the 60s and are still members. A couple of them even still have the car that they joined the club with back in the 60s.
And of course, they had a good competition history, didn't they, in the 60s?
Yes, they did. Jowett's themselves were used competitively. Well, Jowett's were used competitively throughout the 20s, 30s. But after the war, the Javelin and the Jupiter had rally successes and racing successes, and then amateur racers from the 1960s onwards. And today we have at least 3 regularly raced Jupiters and a Javelin that is regularly raced.
Because they won their class, didn't they, in Le Mans 2 years running, didn't they?
They did indeed. That was in the introduction year, yeah.
So they've got a good racing history and just a good history generally. And let's hope it keeps going from strength to strength. And thanks very much for your interview, John.
Thank you.